Hi everyone! We're almost halfway through November now, and winter is really starting to creep in here on the Croft. The days are rapidly getting shorter, and here in the UK we've had some pretty gloomy weather recently. We're in southwest Scotland, and we had almost no sunshine for 10 days in a row. These short, dark days slow growth in the garden right down, and they can also have an effect on your mood, no matter where you live.
This is the perfect time to talk about seasonal affective disorder, often known as the winter blues or seasonal depression. It's quite common in most northern European countries, and apparently is caused by the amount of light that you get in a day. It's something which I'm personally very familiar with, and in the past few years have started actively taking steps to alleviate the symptoms of seasonal depression. I found that getting sunlight in the morning helped massively, so I try to step outside every morning, if only to come back inside and sit down in front of my light therapy lamp, or sad lamp. I usually have this on for at least a couple of hours every morning. It's a Lumi Vitamin L, and I would certainly recommend this lamp.
Spending some time outdoors every day can really help, and there's always something needing to be done on the Croft. This is quite an exposed spot on our property. There used to be 3 really big cypress trees here, but 2 of them fell down and we had the last one removed. So now we had this sort of empty space. I planted a row of blackberries. These are Loch Tay thornless blackberries planted at the beginning of this year, and the idea is to train them to form a sort of edible hedge. These will hopefully become a pretty hardy source of soft fruit while also acting as a bit of a windbreak. Weeds quickly overran this area after the trees were gone, so I put down this black plastic to try and keep them under control and give the blackberries a chance to get established, and I'll remove it later on. The next step is to build some sort of trellis to train the blackberries along and help them form more of a head shape. Do let us know if you've got any experience with this, as it's not something we've done before, and we'd love to hear any suggestions or ideas. I leave most of the tidying up and clearing back on the Croft until the spring, as I know that a lot of these dead plants provide habitat for wildlife. However, I do clear back the flower beds which are right in front of our house, as I do think it helps lift the mood when the view out of the windows is that bit more aesthetically pleasing.
Hobbies and interests are essential, so I bought this trail cam to try and catch a glimpse of the wildlife in our garden. Aside from hobbies, 3 other key ways to deal with seasonal depression are sleep, exercise, and vitamin D. It's important for me to have a strict sleep schedule. Staying up late or sleeping in usually just leaves me feeling groggy and depressed. I take a vitamin D supplement daily, as a few years ago I had a blood test which showed a vitamin D deficiency, which is quite common at this latitude. Any amount of exercise helps. I do bodyweight exercises and use free weights in the house, and also have an exercise bike which I use. Or I go to the gym, and have recently started going before work, and that really sets my mood up well for the day. So it's currently 7:40 a.m. on a Monday morning, and I'm about to go into this gym, pure gym, and I'm not looking forward to it at all. This is something which I have to do in order to not feel terrible. So let's go.
Despite the weather, there's still plenty of life in the garden, and we've been getting some good harvests out of here, especially leafy greens and root vegetables. After the carrot fly disaster in our last video, I wanted to show you what a difference nets could make. These carrots were in a different bed which was covered with veggie mesh netting for the entire growing season, and as you can see, they've come out really nicely. I found it to be quite a difficult year for carrots, as most of my seedlings were taken out by slugs, so I'm really happy to have this harvest now. This was my first year growing this variety, and the short, stocky roots seem to have done really well in my rocky soil. I'm definitely going to be growing oxala again next year. This monster of a parsnip probably wouldn't win any awards at the village show, but it still tasted good. This was my first time ever growing parsnips, so this still made me happy this week, even if it wasn't a perfect specimen. It's well into soup season now, so I decided it was time to have our first try of this year's winter squash harvest. This variety is called Ficta, and it's supposed to be quite vigorous and produce lots of fruits, although I only have a couple to show after this year's poor summer. I know we're a few years late to the party, but we've just bought an air fryer, and I thought it did a really good job of roasting this squash in only about 20 minutes. The squash turned into a really lovely soup, which added a bit of colour to these dark evenings. Of course, the weather can't stay the same forever, and the sun eventually appeared from behind the clouds.
So if you struggle in the darker months, know that it's more common than you might realise, and there is help out there, so talk to your doctor.
Thanks for watching our life on the Croft. If you enjoyed the video, we'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. See you next time.